It looks like the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, is continuing the battle against extremism, as we've noted that that's been kicked off since the beginning of this year. Now, ever since January on the 6th, saying that as weird as possible so YouTube doesn't pick this up and try and shut the video down to eternity. Like this video if you like news like this and you believe in alternative media and reporting and things like that. But there have been 6 service members that are in the military that were kicked out based on extremist activity. Now, if you don't remember, back earlier this year, it was mandated by the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, that military were required to do a stand down on extremism, talking about all of the instances that you could see in regards to that, talking about signs and symptoms of it, and looking at things you could do to report it, and kind of talk about the social culture of what's going on in America right now. Now that that's gone on, we're seeing slowly over time people being recognized through footage, etc. One was the 04. Now we're looking at a sergeant that was in the reserves that was a human resources officer, and he goes by the name Timothy Hale Cusinelli. Now, it does look like there was a report that was supposed to already be done to kind of conduct and finish this entire thing up. Rand Corporation, a bunch of other people were involved in this, and they're even looking at doing more research. But it's interesting because what we're seeing is a true legal battle go down, as it looks like there's not much grounds as officiality and looking at ways that these service members can be prosecuted. And that starts with, first, the definition of extremism. According to this Army Times report, it says this: previously, the DoD definition of extremist activity focused on planning, fundraising, or other, quotations, active participation in extremism groups. The membership was not banned. The new definition is expected to more specifically identify extremist behaviors outside of a group setting, as several recent examples of extremist service members have been unaffiliated with an organization. And it goes on to say that they have set up a process, interdepartmental process, to continue to work on this, Kirby said. And one of the things that they already said they were going to try to do was another study on extremism, so the work continues. To give some background story on this sergeant that we're talking about, obviously you see the photo, you're going to see the stash, you're going to see the hair, right? But there were also other comments that he made. It looks like there were people that outed him, saying that he was talking about being there that day, saying he was going to get rid of evidence and things like that. On top of that, he was talking about how if he was to be part of that old party over in the Germany region, that he would not need to use seasoning on these people, that he would take their lives because their tears would be the seasoning. Hey, from the editing bay, I just wanted to cover this a little bit more in depth as far as his background goes. And some of the official court documents that I've found at the Department of Justice say this. It says, during national news coverage of the aforementioned events, video footage which appeared to be captured on mobile devices of persons present on the scene depicted evidence of violations of local and federal law, including scores of individuals inside of the building without authority to be there. It specifically mentions Timothy Lewis Hale Cusinelli of Colts Neck, New Jersey, traveled to D.C. to participate in a rally and at the U.S. That will not be picked up by YouTube. Hale Cusinelli is enlisted in the United States Army Reserve and also works as a contractor at a naval weapons station, Earl, where he maintains a secret security clearance and has access to a variety of munitions. A little heads up or disclaimer, he no longer is working there because of this. And then it says, on January 12th, 2021, I received information from an individual who has been enrolled as a confidential human source with NCIS, which is Navy Criminal Investigative Services, and says the CHS reported that Hale had told CHS that Hale was present at the United States Capitol building, and as part of the R word, he entered the building itself. Hale then showed CHS videos on his cell phone, which depicted Hale making statements towards the police officers, etc., outside the building. And then during their meeting on the 12th that they had recorded, afterwards, the person that he spoke with said that he was a avowed person of these groups who post video opinion statements on YouTube, proffering extreme political opinions and viewpoints under the title Base Hermes Show. Hale also posts similar content in other forms. Hale wrote, "Trust the plan. It's the final countdown. Stay tuned next episode." And quotations, "Trust the plan. Major announcements soon." Now, if you go over to that YouTube channel, we don't see any of the videos here, but there is a photo of him making some comments to himself in the mirror, but it looks like that's been taken down. But you can see up here it says Base Hermes and the Jersey Revolution with what looks like to be a caduce from a medical position, which I find kind of interesting because he's not medical at all, but just some context for you guys. So it does look like some of the training might have worked as people are picking up on some of this stuff and people are being educated. Army Times has also covered this and said that they're looking at the projection forward of the military and how they're going to be able to use this new definition to kind of like understand and put a clear guidance for service members out there. It says recommendations from the RAND report include exploring existing anti-extremism education from groups like Life After Hate and Beyond Barriers, both created by former extremists. Further down the road, RAND's Monday report suggests there will need to be clear framework for dealing with troops who are found to fall under the new definition of extremism. Ultimately, DoD will need to craft policies that govern the consequences for service members who are shown to have joined an extremist organization, which could include discharge, the report continues, but could also involve interventions designed to help individuals walk away from extremism. So it sounds like we may not be cutting the ties off entirely. There may be people that are in a gray area that they're looking to deal with. That would be a very interesting thing to think about, because we do have substance abuse people that are there to get people out of, danger zones, stress areas with mental health, things like that. So I do find this interesting how that would be like a conversion therapy or something, to say that these guys are no longer going to be a issue or a national security threat of some kind. Now, with anything on my videos, I like to cover both sides, and the comments over on Facebook about this really do share the sentiments of both sides and the perspective lens that they have. Joseph Vespi says, in my 16 years active duty, I have not met or known a single quotations extremist. This project was a huge waste of tax dollars for an insignificant amount of extremists who in all actuality are probably making dumb jokes in poor taste, who've had no hate for their brothers and sisters in arms. And a highly upvoted comment responding to him by Don Bowman says, maybe because our views don't sound extreme to you. Kevin Presser writes, so reading between the lines, this is what I'm understanding. We couldn't find anyone fitting the definitions of extremism in current use. Therefore, we've had to take more time to determine a new definition and actually identify some service members who fit the new criteria, otherwise known as moving the goalpost. Change the standards. That always works. Fits right in with the administration's new mantra to, quotations, lower the expectations. And jokingly, John Mintz writes, I mean the mustache isn't extending beyond the corners of his mouth. So these are some of the things that are coming out in the news as we've seen this just kind of unfold over the past year. And it does bring the same debate up. I do understand the both sides of sentiment here, but I also have to say, like, as much as he could say this is moving the goalposts, I can also say, like, trying to adapt to culture and things that are changing is something laws naturally happen as well. So I'm like, we can't say laws just stay the exact same state no matter what. But you could defend either side on this, that I can definitely see, as you can see in these comments. But I'd like to know, what do you guys think down in the comments below, because I think that's where this discussion gets started, and we can kind of move the bar forward in regards to understanding where we're at and kind of progress to the next phase of understanding what's going on. But as always, if you guys do support over here, you can support over at patreon.com for special perks and benefits. On top of that, you can also support at the YouTube join button below this video for special perks and benefits down here on YouTube. But as always, if you guys have questions about this or anything else, you can always hit me up on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, or down in the comments below. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.